pretty good basketball team. But as Teddy said, Spoelstra and the Heat might be starting to figure things out a little bit.
What about the Pelicans and Mavericks, Patrick? Anything happening at the windows with that particular NBA matchup tonight?
That one, I believe, when I talked to Eric just a little bit ago, it was sitting at 2.5,
okay.
And Mavericks 2.5, which is where it opened. And he said we've seen some Dallas money here, and he thinks what a lot of it is not necessarily sharp play in this case for sure, but people really want to watch Luka Doncic play. He's a great player. He's been having an awesome rookie year. And he said we're starting to see people bet the Mavericks just out of that interest. But he also pointed out that he thinks it's interesting to see what all this Anthony Davis trade talk situation will do with the New Orleans locker room.
That's what I was going to pose to you, Teddy. I mean, the comments, they're not veiled at all. Legacy is more important than money, which translated says, adios, New Orleans. I'm leaving. How does that going to affect this team?
Well, so far it's affecting them. They've lost it 4 in a row. And they did cover 1 point spread during that span. They were 9-point dogs. They lost by 8. New Orleans is a bad defensive team with clear locker room chemistry issues right now. I think they like each other, and I think they like Gentry, but I think that when you have the specter of what's going on with AD right now hanging over a franchise, it is not good. And the longer it goes on, the longer the struggles continue. The roster's talented. The other guy's, Mirotic. Mirotic. When he remember how bad the Bulls were last year, and he got healthy, and all of a sudden
he was the key guy in that team.
He was a spark plug for this New Orleans team too, as well. And now he's hurt, and they haven't played well since he's gotten hurt. Not that Dallas is playing well; they've lost 6, 7 in a row now, 6 in a row. Although most of them on the road against quality foes in point spread covering range.
A streak has come to an end. The Spurs had been going wild in revenge games, and they finally. Look, these are short-term streaks, but they were on a real good one as far as revenge game goes, but it ended in the last game, so is that something we forget about now moving forward? And I don't even know if it plays into tonight's game with the Nuggets. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, they haven't played yet this year.
Okay, so there's no revenge here.
There's no single season revenge. But, certainly San Antonio, would they have 5 straight wins by 25 points or more?
Big wins, yeah.
Just blowing teams out. Another team that's a lot better right now than they were a month ago. The Spurs,
that guy on the sidelines is still pretty slick. Popovich is such a great coach.
And I like Mike Malone, too. And Denver's been able to overachieve despite their injury woes. But, we are talking about a team in the Nuggets that is missing 3 starters. One of whom has been out all year, and Will Barton. But, Gary Harris, when you're sitting without Gary Harris in the lineup, he's certainly someone that you're going to miss long term. And Millsap, another guy who
Millsap's a solid player. He really is. Spurs have been drawing a lot of they've been a popular team lately at the windows because of what they've been doing. Is that still the situation tonight?
Pretty even action at this point, but I would guess as you get closer to tip, this is probably going to be more of a Spurs game. Eric Osterman was saying, hey, I expect the Spurs to show up at home and play a little defense tonight. He said, in fact, the total had gone down just a tick in this game, but pretty even action thus far. Spurs at -4.
And we'll look at a bowl game. The early one for tomorrow is Duke against Temple. The Blue Devils will just as soon forget about the last game they played, which was just a disaster against Wake Forest. They're up against a Temple team that will be under the guidance of an interim coach, and those guys are 2-0 so far this year, a reversal of those fortunes from last year. And if you go back over the years, it's completely random. 1 year it's been really good with the interim coaches, and the next year it's been horrible. And this year so far so good. And this is going to be interesting because Temple's got, kind of a big guy, who's got a few excess pounds and a lot of gung-ho that'll be leading them. I think he's got the team excited. My numbers say Temple in this game, Patrick. What do the bookmakers say is happening as far as the betting's concerned?
Well, right now at the Superbook, anyway, they're going to need Temple to cover the 4.5 there, and certainly hoping when it got to 4.5, I should say.
It's going up.
Temple -3 had been as high as 4.5, back to 3. Eric Osterman over at the Superbook said they had some money on Temple 3.5, also had some Duke money at +4.5.
I think it's going to settle around 3.5 or 4, right?
Right, and he basically Eric said, look, if it lands Temple 4, that's not good for us. We're going to need Temple to cover the 4.5. That would be ideal.
Russo is healthy again. for Temple. A guy who's got a future. His inexperience still shows at times he'll make some bad throws. But he's got an arm. He's got the type of arm that NFL scouts like. He can make all the throws. So it's a potential showcase game for him, even though he's still young. Showcase game for him against the Duke secondary that can be yielding.
And the other thing that he has, he's got the Temple offensive line has been solid, and it's gotten much better as the season has progressed.
And their number one running back, whose name I'm blanking on his name, but he's a guy who kind of is, he's
Armstead?
He's Dylan. Yeah, Armstead.
Yeah.
He's like Dylan Light. Speaking of the Boston College guy, he's not quite that dynamic, but he's really good. He's healthy again.
Sure, they scored 40 plus, 3 times their last 4 ball games, and you talk about Duke's season finale. Wasn't any better the week before that when Clemson annihilated them. I mean, they're the whole back half.
The North Carolina game, they were lucky to win.
Yeah, the back half of the season was not pretty for Duke, and their offense. After that one shootout against Pitt, that game where they had the lead and let it get away and ended up losing by margin. After that, man, the offense really didn't do much. They didn't score against Miami, Clemson, or Wake. I'll be reluctant. Although Cutcliffe is good at bowls, man. He has covered his last 4.
He's a good coach.
Yeah, well, from a point spread perspective, he's been real good.
I would give the coaching edge to Cutcliffe,
Right.
but I think the talent edge might be with Temple. We'll see. All right, that's the 4 at 4. Brought to you by MJ Christensen. We'll tell you more about the post-Christmas stuff that's going on at MJ Christensen, but we'll cut to the chase really quickly. Some fantastic deals available right now. And if you happen to kind of strike out in terms of getting that special loved one on your list, the gift they wanted most, better late than never. Head over to MJ Christensen and find something as a makeup, if you will. We are underway in the Minnesota-Georgia Tech game, and Minnesota will have a first down at midfield. They have the ball first against the Yellow Jackets. Could see some points in this game. We'll have to wait and see. Let's talk about some NFL Week 17. Patrick, I'll let you set us up here with some games that are seeing some early action.
Sure, and I'm gonna just real quickly take a step back.
Oh, and I want to talk about the. I want to go through something else too, but we'll save this for the. I want to get the. Actually, you know what? Let's get to it now, because this is you emailed me on this, and I think this is pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Best and worst games this year for the house.
Yeah, I was interested in that too.
Yeah, well, what I was going to hit just real quick, real fast. Appreciate, Dave, you at the top of the hour alluding to the passing of Royce Fior.
Yeah.
I worked at the RJ for 22 years. Royce was a colleague of mine, a great man.
Great guy.
Just a really good, just a gentleman. That's as best as I can possibly put it.
A great lover of dogs, by the way.
He loves
he
dogs.
Really was.
And honestly, he was really good to my family. He's been really good to my kids. I worked, you guys know how this business is. I worked nights, weekends, holidays for years, as do you. I'd bring my kids and trot them through the newsroom when they were little on Halloween, and he would just get such a kick out of that. And it was I just appreciate it. He's a good man. So
he really was.
Definitely sorry to see him pass.
And I didn't know what was going on because Royce was a regular tweeter.
Exactly.
And he hadn't tweeted for like a week or so, and it's like, I don't know, maybe he's just bored with it, but apparently
or
sick,
just getting a little holiday time off. But anyway, again, our condolences to friends and family for sure. No, this was interesting. I spoke with Jeff Stoneback, MGM Resort Sportsbooks, on Monday about best game, worst game, best team, worst team. Best game for them this season was just a week and a half ago. That Seahawks-49ers game was huge for them. They had
with San Francisco winning overtime.
Yeah, with San Francisco winning outright. They had a huge 6-figure money line bet that came in on Seattle, and so they kept all that. And there was a whole bunch of other money on Seattle, so they did really well to that game. Their worst game was that Rams-Raiders game in Week 1, the second half of that Monday night doubleheader.
Wow.
So that was
That's
the one.
The worst game of the year.
That was the worst game of the year for them.
They'll take that a worst game in Week 1, wouldn't you think?
Absolutely. I think they'll happily take that as worst game in Week 1. And then best team, worst team, the Eagles worked out great for MGM and I'm sure other books this year because people were riding the Eagles
Big
off
losers.
the Super Bowl win, and I think they're like 6-9 against the number right now. So the books got the better of that. And then especially with the expansion of sports betting to Mississippi, for MGM books anyway, the Saints have been killing them, and week after week, and they've got they have the second most liability of MGM books for the Super Bowl is on the Saints. So they could be looking at further extensive losses on this. Interesting stuff.
All right. Well, the road to the Super Bowl travels through New Orleans
Absolutely.
in the NFC.
So they're going to keep seeing a bunch of money at Beau Rivage and those other Mississippi books for sure.
We're heading toward a break. Give me one game that the books are going to have some concern with this weekend.
That's a good question. Let's see here. I got 4 or 5 of them down. I think one that is going to be interesting is, well, I think 2: Eagles, Redskins, Browns, Ravens. Eagles, Redskins. Early money on this was on Washington. It went down to 6.5, then back to 7. And the Browns the Browns are playing well. This isn't the Browns team we're used to, and they're covering the number.
And the coach comes right out and says, "Oh yeah, we're treating this as a playoff game,"
as they should. Yep. So I think that's going to be interesting, too. This was 6.5 initially, down to 5.5, then back to 6. And Eric Osterman at Superbook said a good amount of money on the Browns plus 6. House player makes a significant wager on Ravens 5.5.
I would, and just one little personal observation note here. I wouldn't make a move on this game until I know what Ward's status is for Cleveland. He's a really important player in this game because of what the Ravens are doing offensively. Ward is a key guy for the Browns, and if he's not out there, I think the Ravens can exploit that.
And I was reading something today that did not sound positive as to his condition for this week. Denzel Ward, of course, dealing with a concussion for the Browns. But
see, that's the thing. If this was, I don't know what the concussion protocol and all that. If this was a real playoff game for Cleveland, he's playing. It's not, okay? And I don't know if you send him out there in Week 17 with the aftermath of a concussion. It's like, no, okay?
Well, it depends who makes that decision, you know.
It should be an easy decision. Actually, it should be an easy decision for Browns management. It's like, no, you're not playing, buddy.
But for the Browns coaching staff, whose jobs could be on, if you're Greg Williams, your job's on the line for this game maybe. If you win, you're live to be the coach next year. You're not, maybe not.
You think?
I think they have to consider him just because they.
I think he's got to be in the running, but unless someone really big becomes available, I got to think Greg Williams is just a pretty good-sized favorite at this point. This team is really playing well.
If they win at Baltimore, I don't think he can not be the coach next year. If they don't win that game and finish sub 500 again, you can given his track record, you make an argument for not having him there.
We have a score to start the Minnesota-Georgia Tech game, but it's not really what Minnesota wanted. They had
a nice drive.
Rolling through the Georgia Tech offense, got themselves, I believe, in a first-and-goal situation, and they have to settle for 3.
That's not rowing the boat.
No, it's not.
Doubt.
It's only 3. It's 3-0 Minnesota, but you kind of want 7 in a situation like that. We will take a break. We'll come back. We'll get you Ralph Michaels with his Joe's Angle of the Day, and we will get to some bowls. A little bowl banter when we come back.
The Las Vegas Sports Line.
Hello, friends. This is Thomas Johnson from Joe's Seafood Prime Steak and Stone Crab. Need a great idea for lunch or dinner? Your best bet is Joe's, one of the most popular dining destinations on the Strip. Joe's provides the ideal setting for private parties with accommodations for up to 150 guests. Stop by to see us at the Forum Shops at Caesars and ask for Thomas Johnson, your maitre d'.
All right. Joe's is located at the Forum Shops at Caesars Palace. What a wonderful way to finish off 2018 or begin 2019. Make a reservation now to have a great meal at Joe's. One you'll remember, 702-792-9222. They can be followed on Twitter at Joe's Vegas. What did Ralph Michaels provide us with today, Teddy?
We got a good one. This is since 2010. Team specific. The Green Bay Packers, 21-3 against the spread. Only 2 parameters. Well, 3 parameters. They have to be a favorite, they have to be on grass, and they have to be off a straight-up road win. Packers 21-3 in that role. Green Bay, of course, this week.
Facing the Lionesses.
Yeah, and laying 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9.
Tough to make a case for the other team based on the lack of effort, shall we say, that was shown last week by the Lions. That was a really bad performance against the Vikings. They just gave up in the second half of that game. There were 2 teams last week who had completely, we just want this to end performances. They were one, and the other was
Arizona?
Arizona to some extent, but no, and I'm blanking on it, but it was
Denver?
Oh yeah, it was Denver. Oh, it was Denver. Yes.
I should have been able to answer that
Denver.
one.
I mean, they were both pretty ugly.
Yeah.
Denver was
and unfortunately,
awful.
Denver's playing a team this week that probably is going to sit a lot of guys. I mean, the Chargers have no reason to play anybody in this football game, do they?
Well,
if the Chiefs lose.
Well, no. If the Chargers and Chiefs finish with the same record, I think the Chiefs gets the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
It's a weird tiebreaker.
I think it's over. I think the Chiefs the Chargers are I believe.
Well, wait a minute.
No,
the
the
Chiefs lost last week. That's
They're
right.
both 11-4.
You're right, Teddy.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's right.
You're right,
Yeah,
Teddy.
right.